So Jason Whitlock gave an absolutely incredible interview with President Trump yesterday at the White House. I thought, quite honestly, guys, it's probably the best interview with President Trump I have ever seen. I mean, it is a textbook example of what fair and balanced journalism looks like. It really was. So I'm really happy and I'm really proud of Jason Whitlock for showing his professionalism, giving a demonstration to all these journalists on what it looks like to have a fair and balanced interview with the president of the United States. And quite honestly, he should have done the town hall. If he would have done the town hall would have went a lot better. And Jason Whitlock happened to bring up these subjects that I think that are very important. But before we get into that, my name is Greg Foreman. You're watching a Black Conservative Perspective. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black Conservative Perspective, aka a liberal's worst nightmare. You can also follow me on Twitter at GForemanBCP. Let's get it. All right, guys, let's get into it. So first and foremost, guys, you can watch the whole interview below. I may or may not put clips in here because Outkick is probably want to protect their property, considering how this interview is trending. So watch the whole interview if you want, but I'm just going to go over some of the highlights. So one of the questions that I thought were interesting is when he talked about putting America first. Jason Whitlock talked about how he heard that at President Trump's inauguration speech and how much that impacted him, knowing that his, mom was a factory worker. I think his dad was a factory worker and then, quit and started his own business to help factory workers. I think that's the way he phrased it. And I think this is an amazing question because it allowed President Trump to really talk about his philosophy of putting America first and how past presidents and past leadership has not done that. They have not put America first. They put Europe first, they put China first, they put all these other countries first before America, right? And when it comes to putting America first, what that means is putting the worker first, putting the middle class first in America, right? With these trade agreements, these trade deals, shipping all these jobs overseas, giving them to China, giving them to Southeast Asia, that left a lot of people displaced, particularly in the Midwest, in these factory towns that had jobs that no longer have jobs anymore because they've been shipped overseas. And President Trump, putting America first and attempting to bring those jobs back and trying to do so, even if it's costly in the beginning with this trade war in China, I think really signals how much President Trump really cares about the American people and really cares about trying to bring jobs back here to America, and about how putting your country first is so important when it comes to taking care of your own people before you start taking care of other people. I think that's really, really, really important. So next thing I want to go over that he talked about was college football. And Whitlock played college football at Ball State. He didn't have a shot at the NFL. But essentially, Whitlock has been really hard on the social justice movement, Black Lives Matter, and the far left in regards to their stance when it comes to the national anthem and, basically being disrespectful to the flag and turning off a lot of fans. And the reason why is because Whitlock realizes what a lot of people don't understand, right? Football gives people opportunity, right? Athletes, black or white, Hispanic, Asian, whoever, right? When you're an athlete at a major college institution, you have so many opportunities in life that you would not have had if it wasn't for football, that Whitlock realizes that you don't want to do anything to ruin that institution. Anything that tries to ruin that institution is going to ruin your opportunity, right? It's the same way that I always make the argument about how one of the aspects of, standing for the national anthem, first and foremost, obviously you should respect your country. But the second aspect is that you don't want to bite the hand that feeds you, because it gives you opportunity that you otherwise would not have had. And Jason Whitlock was the first person to say something that I thought was an amazing observation, which was that the NFL has created more black millionaires than any institution in history. Period. What institution has created more black millionaires than the NFL? Whitlock basically said it doesn't make sense that all these social justice warriors in the far left want to tear down this institution. Why would you as an athlete want to follow behind the far left and tear down an institution that feeds you, that creates wealth for your people? It doesn't make sense. And Whitlock was the first person to bring up that point that I think is a very, very, very good point. And I don't understand why he gets so much heat? Because this man was one of the first major television hosts to have a mainly black male panel. If you guys ever watched that show, Speak for Yourself, if you notice, everybody on that panel was basically a black male. But for whatever reason, he gets called a coon and a sellout when he has a major sports talk show, or at least he did, in which he employed a lot of black people. Just because he likes Trump and that he has conservative views, that doesn't mean he's a sellout or a coon. Obviously, you can see that he's trying to help his own people. So I think President Trump talked about college football and how important it was to him and how much he loved football and his role that he played in bringing the game back. And that's also important because the president realizes how much opportunity college football brings to athletes that are from, poor areas that otherwise would not have that opportunity, right? Like, I went to UNC Chapel Hill, which, some people may call a major college football institution. More basketball, but, college football is kind of big. Guys, I mean, if you're on a football team, you get better food, you get access to all the social stuff, you get access to more education, you get access to more tutoring, you get access to way more resources as a student athlete at an institution like that than you otherwise would as a regular student. So this is important. And also, a lot of people don't realize that in the South, college football is so big that it basically is an economy in and of itself. It employs a lot of people in the South. A lot of towns just live off, high school and college football in the South, really. A lot of student athletes, right, that play in these other sports that aren't revenue generating benefit from college football. College football is everything in the South. So there was no way that college football could have been shut down this fall without devastating effects to the economy. Again, that even more props to President Trump and Whitlock for being vocal proponents of bringing it back, because it helped save a lot of people's livelihoods and a lot of people's jobs. It really did. College football is so important to the South, and not enough people realize that and understand that. And by the way, college football has, at least with no crowd, is still done good. I think some major primetime matchups have better ratings than the NBA Finals. So again, college football is great. And I applaud President Trump for being so vocal and playing a role in trying to bring it back, and for Jason Whitlock for being a real journalist and asking him a question about something that I think a lot of people don't really talk about. So the third thing I want to talk about is Whitlock asked him a great question about the media is always asking about white supremacy, but when is the media going to ask the Democrats about why they haven't denounced Antifa, who Whitlock believes is the modern day KKK. Obviously, President Trump and Jason Whitlock had more synergy over this topic as well, because the media has treated President Trump so unfairly when it comes to these extremist groups, right? They want President Trump to denounce white supremacy and the Proud Boys and really all these non-threats. The Proud Boys are not a racist group. I don't see any KKK or anything like that out here protesting in the street and causing destruction in our cities. But night after night after night after night, we see Antifa in the streets of Portland and across the country, destroying our country, destroying businesses. And the Democrats have not been asked to denounce Antifa at all. And I really don't understand why. I really don't. And I'm glad a real journalist like Jason Whitlock brought up this question, because it does bring up an interesting question. Why have the Democrats not been asked to denounce Antifa? And then people wonder why people come up with conspiracy theories. The only way I can explain it is that there is a conspiracy. There has to be, because this is something that people see right in front of their faces every single day on TV, but yet the media is not talking about it. But we don't see the negativity of white supremacy every single day on TV. White supremacists aren't going out in the street and destroying cities and things of that nature. But yet President Trump is asked about it like it's some imminent threat. And it's just not. Kudos to Jason Whitlock for asking a real question. And again, this interview is a textbook example of how a journalist is supposed to conduct an interview with the President of the United States. Letting the president talk and adequately explain exactly what his stance is on certain subjects and issues. This is how you do it, guys. And it's a damn shame that a sports journalist had to be the one to show the mainstream media how to conduct a professional interview with the President of the United States. And the last thing I want to touch on, which was a funny part of it, was that it just shows President Trump's personality and just, how cordial he is. Whitlock asked him, is he going to change any strategy going into this debate tonight? And President Trump was initially like, no, I think I'm probably just going, I'm just going to be me. And then President Trump asked Whitlock, he's like, do you have any advice for me? And Whitlock said, yeah, you should let Joe talk more. He'll do the job himself. And I thought it was great because President Trump was like, no, yeah, you're right. You're right. In the first debate, he lied so much. He told so much lie. I just felt like I had to call it out. But, maybe you're right. Maybe I will let Joe Biden talk more and let him hang himself. And I think that's great, right? That's an awesome moment where Whitlock gave the president what I think is some really good advice. I think that President Trump at tonight's debate should let Joe Biden talk more. And it just was a very cool moment to see the president, who people swear up and down is some type of white supremacist, is a racist, sits down with Jason Whitlock, who's a black man, who everybody defines as some type of coon, sellout Uncle Tom, who, again, I've already explained to you guys some of the things that he's done that go against that notion, and how they can just come together, sit down, and have a respectful, cordial interview where the viewer can get as much information as possible, get the questions answered, and really learn a lot more about what the president's trying to do, where the president's coming from, and what he's saying, without it being interrupted, without a bunch of gotcha questions, without a bunch of BS. It was just a thing of beauty to watch. So I really appreciate this interview. I really appreciated Jason Whitlock for doing this. And just one more thing, Whitlock is also an example of somebody who worked hard, took the opportunities that he had, been a college football player, became a journalist, worked his way from the bottom up to the top, and then he went and partnered and became a founder, essentially, of his own business with Outkick. He's a modern day example of the American dream working for black men. He goes against the grain in terms of what the left is trying to tell you that you can do in this country. He's a hard worker. He did what he had to do, and look where he is now, interviewing the president, because he worked hard. He didn't sit around and complain and moan and cry about, oh man, woe is me, I don't have this opportunity, I don't have that opportunity. That's what can happen when you work hard and you do what you got to do. You can be successful. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a black conservative perspective. Peace.